Hello, everybody. As mentioned, I'm Susan McPherson. I am the founder and CEO of McPherson Strategies, and I'm really excited to be here. I love this conference. But I'm most excited to introduce my guests. We have Emily Woglom from Ocean Conservancy and Jeff Wooster from Dow Chemical. And before I give them the floor, we all value the oceans, of course. And one little stat to know, did you know that every third breath you take comes from our oceans? Well, we're going to turn the next 15 minutes or so over to the increasing problem of marine debris and how these two together are tackling that. But I just found out an interesting note. Ocean Conservancy and Dow Chemical have been partnering for 30 years. That's longer than most marriages. So I would love to ask them both if you can give a brief history of the partnership and what the hell have kept you together this long.
Great. Well, it's great people that have kept us together, like Emily on stage here. We've been working with Ocean Conservancy for about 30 years. We started by sponsoring their international coastal cleanups, which hopefully many of you have participated in. And if you haven't, I would advise you to start. But we worked with them for many, many years on the coastal cleanups. And then about 6 or 7 years ago, we realized that we really needed to do more to understand scientifically the problem of how trash gets into the ocean and take action to prevent it from getting in the ocean. Doing cleanups was a good thing, but we needed to do more, and so we started the Trash Free Seas Alliance, and I'll let Emily tell you more about that.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Trash Free Seas Alliance, as Jeff said, we started about 6 years ago, and the intention there was really to bring together interests from the conservation sector, from industry, and from science, starting with trying to really, as Jeff said, have an understanding of what are the sources and the impacts, and with the eye to looking for solutions to marine debris, and in particular, plastic in the ocean.
See, they even can answer each other's questions. Okay, we know what that's like in life. But Jeff, we all know that our oceans are vital for all sorts of things. Why did marine debris become the issue that you glommed onto and Dow Chemical?
Well, I'm going to let Emily take that question, I think. I think it's better for her to answer that one, and I'll take the next one if you don't mind.
Well, so, I mean, broadly, obviously, we care very much about the ocean, and we came at this from an ocean perspective, right? And so through some of the research that we have supported over the years and through some of the work at the Alliance, our understanding is that a conservative estimate is that about 8 million metric tons of plastic waste goes into the ocean every year. And
can you size
yep, that's about 1 garbage truck of plastic every minute, right? That's a lot, and we have evidence and science that suggests that it is impacting over 690 species at this point through entanglement or ingestion. So we care very much about that. But one of the really nice things about the Alliance is it allows us to sort of tap into a broad net of expertise in our work and in our analysis. And so through some of this work, what we've understood is that the problem of marine debris is very closely connected to the problem of a lack of waste management infrastructure, particularly in developing economies. So in places where you have large and rising populations, a lot of economic growth, a lot of these are emerging markets for many of our Alliance members, where the ability to access and use consumer products has increased, but the investment in waste management infrastructure, basic collection, hasn't kept up with that. And so, you know, when we look at this, we care about the ocean perspective, but, you know, the simple fact is there's over 2 billion people on this planet who don't have access to basic waste collection. And that's a major source not only of marine debris, but of significant public health impacts and community impacts. And so working on this issue through the Alliance has allowed us to tap into, as I said, a diverse network of experts to look at some of these issues and to understand this as an infrastructure problem, which means it's a policy problem, it's a finance problem, it's a development issue. And we have done a lot of work together to try and understand those particular issues. In fact, today, we have launched our most recent report that the Alliance put out. We're calling it The Next Wave, which looks...
Can you lift that up a little bit? So
which is The Next Wave, which is looking at how do we improve or how do we understand the fundamental economic drivers around investments in waste management infrastructure.
Sounds like a great plane ride read on your way home from the conference.
Yes.
Anyhow, I'm sorry, I just always am silly. But this is truly important. But I'd be curious, Jeff, how this aligns with Dow Chemical as a business.
That's an excellent question, and people ask me all the time, why are you so interested in this? And the reason that I'm interested in it is not just that I'm interested in the health of the ocean, which I am. It's because it's a business imperative for Dow to fix this problem. We know that consumers want to buy products that are safe, healthy, and good for the environment. And we know that if plastics aren't good for the environment, they won't want to purchase them, and then they won't want to buy the products that we make. And so it's a business imperative for us to fix this problem. Plastics have many sustainability benefits: low energy consumption, low weight, easy transportation, safe and easy for use. But if we want the consumers to be able to enjoy all those benefits, we've got to keep them out of the environment. And that means making sure people have waste management so that they have something to do with those products when they're done with them, whether that means recycling or composting or recovering them for their energy value or simply putting them in the landfill. Whatever they can do to keep them out of the environment and out of the ocean is what we need to do to protect the environment.
And an interesting factoid is close to 40 years ago, Dow Chemical was the chief underwriter, one of the top underwriters for the undersea world of Jacques Cousteau, which I think those of us of age in the audience may remember. So it's a great thing that you're continuing to support such a worthy cause. You have a wide variety of industries here. Are there other particular industries that should be caring about this that aren't? Or do you have a message for them of why they should be caring if they're not?
There are. I think it's important for a lot of people. So Emily mentioned public health. There's also fishing, tourism. It's not just the plastics manufacturers or the companies that make plastic packaging or that use plastic packaging to get their goods to the consumer or the recycling companies that need those products and benefit from them. It's really lots of different industries that are affected by the marine debris crisis. And even if your company uses a plastic product in an intermediate part of the supply chain and you think that you have lost all control of it once it goes to the consumer, understand that you have some responsibility to make sure that they can manage it properly once they get it. And that means having proper waste management if they live in a developing country.
That's great advice.
Could I just add to that?
Please.
So, I think we have gotten a lot of, and would love to have more partners from the materials makers, from the chemical industry, from the consumer goods industry, and from the retail sector. For a lot of these companies, it's a lot of what Jeff said. You're looking at some of these major growth markets: Indonesia, the Philippines, China, Vietnam, India. Yes, and so you can't have gone to one of these countries and not have seen firsthand what a lack of waste management means. And so for a lot of folks, I think that's the sort of business case. I think we also see real potential around some of the tourism participation, right? If you are working in the airline industry or in hotels, these same places are major tourist destinations. I mean, the people who talk to us sometimes the most passionately about what they're seeing are people who are going to beaches or going scuba diving or going snorkeling and seeing plastic in the ocean and wanting to know what can they do to keep it out of there.
Well, what would you say is the low-hanging fruit or maybe low-hanging seaweed that companies or individuals can get behind? I couldn't resist.
So I have a sort of serious answer and I have a little bit of a campy answer. So the serious answer is, I think the benefit of these, we've been talking a lot about collaborations throughout the day, and collaborations like joining the Trash Free Seas Alliance, are important because this isn't, supporting waste management infrastructure in developing economies is not something an individual corporation can do. It's really going to need cross-sector and cross-industry collaboration. So this isn't something we're tackling by ourselves. Our goal is to focus on what can the private sector do to catalyze investment and cooperation with governments, with finance, with others. So join the alliance. My campier answer is find a way to get your employees, or even better, your CEOs and your C-suite out on a beach doing a beach cleanup. We've been doing cleanups for years. They're sort of motherhood and apple pie. They're really easy. But I'm telling you, at the last Trash Free Seas Alliance meeting that we had, we got these guys out on a beach to actually pick up trash and actually sieve through the sand. Most of them had, brought their sneakers and jeans to put on. But these guys were geeking out over, is this HDPE? What kind of plastic do you think? Who's the supplier around there? Where is this coming from, right? It was really an interesting way for people to understand and see and tangibly see the impact of what we're trying to work on.
And they say that a picture's worth 1,000 words. When you go to the beach and you dig through the sand and you find all the trash that's been deposited there over the course of days, weeks, months, or years, you recognize what a big problem it is. And so I would just add, in addition to joining the Trash Free Seas Alliance, we also have another group here today that works with Ocean Conservancy, and that's the WBCSD, World Business Council for Sustainable Development. They have a project to provide a roadmap to eliminate ocean waste. ROW, R-O-W, is the acronym for that. And I happen to be the co-chair of that project. So I heartily encourage all of you to join. Please seek me out or one of the other WBCSD members or one of the Ocean Conservancy team members here. And you can meet us all at the reception sponsored by Dow. That'll be right after the session today.
That's great. And I know we have a few more minutes, so I want to tee up our, this is so cute that they're over there. I love it. To ask questions. Do you have any yet? Or
we do. We actually got a question from Annie Leonard on Twitter. Okay. She said, well, this is actually one of the questions. Isn't disposable plastic trash a production problem more than a disposal problem?
Ooh, that's... Jeff.
Well, if the product is disposed of properly, then it isn't a problem. And you can substitute another item for a disposable item, but you really have to think about what the other impacts of that might be. So if you're talking about trading off one product for another without thinking through all the trade-offs, I don't have an answer for whether it would be better or worse. But I do know that there are trade-offs with making those decisions. I also know that if we have proper waste management and if people don't throw their garbage on the ground, it won't end up in the ocean.
Right.
So if we can manage the waste properly, then we'll be able to keep it out of the ocean. We believe in recycling, we believe in circular economy, we believe in reusable products. All those things are fine and good to use. But just having a reusable product won't prevent marine debris because a reusable cup could be thrown on the ground just like a disposable cup. And either one that ends up on the ground could end up in the ocean, and that's not where we want it.
Yeah, and I'd just like to add to that, I think that's a really interesting question. I think that too often in environmental issues, we like to believe that there's one solution that will solve everything. There's not, right? Every issue that we all work on needs to be tackled from multiple directions. And so we very much believe that we need to reduce the amount of waste that we're creating in the first place through increasing recycling, through circular economy and the rest. But that's one piece of the solution. Another piece needs to be improving access to waste management. Again, 2 billion on the people on the planet without access to basic waste collection. Yeah, and that number is only going to grow. And so, it's not that it's the only solution, but it's an important piece of it.
And I think you pointed out something that is so vitally true. We live in an increasingly complex, interconnected world, and one problem may just be, might solve something for a few months or a year or two, but for the long haul, those sometimes are not solutions. Another question.
Yes. So. One question is really, well, actually, let's go back to the ocean pollution one. What is being done, I think you might have touched on this, but I think maybe to be more expansive, what's being done to clean up existing plastic island trash in the Pacific?
I would have to ask Emily first on this note.
Yeah, so there are a handful of groups out there who are looking at sort of technological ways to get out there and clean things up. And just as I said before, right, this is a problem that's going to require solutions from many angles. And cleanup is an important part of it. We're going to continue to do beach cleanups. For the Alliance, we feel like the best place for our kind of partnership for the private sector to work with civil society and with governments is on keeping the plastic from getting into the ocean in the first place. By the time it's out in the middle of the Pacific, it's traveled through the environment, through the marine environment. It's had all sorts of opportunities to interact with marine species and to get into the food chain. And so absolutely, that's an important consideration that we want to look at. But if we can sort of turn off the tap of supplying plastic into the ocean, we feel like that's the right place for us to focus.
Yeah, and everybody has their place. I mean, I will say the plastic that you see is less dangerous than the plastic that you don't see, which what happens, many years after it's been in the ocean. I feel like I'm talking to whoever on Twitter asks by looking at them, which is ridiculous.
And we agree that cleanups will continue to be important, but we really need to stop the material from getting there in the first place. And so the first report that was issued by Ocean Conservancy that was the initial research on this subject was called Stemming the Tide. And that really meant that we wanted to stop the material from flowing into the ocean in the first place. If it doesn't get into the ocean, then we won't have to worry about cleaning it up later.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to ask a question before we end, because many of you build partnerships with NGOs, and maybe there's NGOs in the audience that want to build partnerships with corporate entities. What's the secret? Why has it worked so well for you for so very long?
So, I think a lot of it is about building personal relationships and about building trust. For us, what that means is understanding that we're not going to agree with all of our corporate partners on all of the issues. But what we do agree on is that plastic shouldn't end up in the ocean. Nobody wants that. I think it's important for us to be able to be transparent and be clear about where some of our boundaries are when we work together, but to spend our time focusing on the issues where we agree and the issues where we can make really significant progress.
And we definitely agree that we need to keep trash out of the ocean, and we'll continue working on it. We invite all of you to join us and do the same. Thank you very much.
And thank you for listening to us. Thank you.